While putting my grandchildren to sleep, the young one, Myra, asked me to recite my childhood story. I sat down, started gently stroking her hair, and I decided to tell them about the work of their great grandfather. When I was 8, my father, a botanist, had posted an innovation center in Bhopal, which was situated in a water treatment plant opposite to Vidhaan Sabha of Madhya Pradesh. My dad would every day drop me and my mom to the Birla temple, which was right next to his office. We would often pass by his office while going to the temple. I would get a sneak peek into the water treatment plant as it had no boundary wall, a big plaza surrounded by trees, street dogs resting in their shadow, people relaxing. Every Friday there was a farmer's market in the plaza where people would enjoy brunch. I would often ask Papa to take me to his office, but he always ignored my request as he was too busy. After 3 years, finally the day came for what my father was posted in Bhopal. It was the inauguration day of the conservatory. I was very excited to visit my father's workplace as I had only heard about it in stories. While he was driving us to the place, I remember asking him a question. What is a conservatory? And he replied, it is a zoo for plants and trees. To which I asked, why do we need it? And I got a very absurd answer to it. It is for the day which I hope you never get to see. The answer was more like a question which kept revolving inside my mind for long. Even today, I don't know what he meant by it. I started having butterflies in my stomach when we were about to reach. As the road took a gentle curve, the boundary wall vanished and the plaza started getting broader towards the center. I have been watching this plaza for a few years every day, but today I was about to get inside it. As I got down from the car, Papa told me to sit under the neem tree in the plaza till he parked the car. All the trees were labelled so I could easily spot the neem tree. As I sat down on the bench under it, I could not help notice the structure of the conservatory and how it was merging with the trees, and on the other side was completely contrasting monumental structure of Vidhaan Sabha. While I was sitting in the shade, there was a gentle breeze of moisture that was coming from the conservatory, soothing my mood. Looking at the lush green surroundings, gentle cold air, birds flying and squirrel playing, it did not feel like peak of summers even when sitting in the plaza away from the conservatory. There were people roaming around, kids playing with dogs, few people were sitting on the floor with placards saying Narmada Bachao, some people selling bhel puri. Papa came with an ice cream to welcome me to his office. We started moving towards the conservatory. Despite watching plaza for so many days, I never noticed but the flooring was of stone with grass growing in between them. The rawness of the floor enhanced my excitement. As we approached the entry staircase, I could not help but notice the grandness of the tree-like structure emerging from the ground and forming into the roof above. The canopy of the trees surrounding it seemed to intertwine with the structure, creating a mesmerizing pattern that was a sight to behold. They together casted a deep shadow below, adding a sense of mystery to already enchanting atmosphere. Even between the shadows, the light quality was divine. The sunlight being filtered in between the leaves and structure, cascading down in golden rays that seemed to have a godlike quality in them. Climbing up the staircase, I was left in awe with the romance of the built and the unbuilt structure, the magnificent scale and the comfort of the warm shaded spaces being formed by it below. The roof was lower and higher at different points which enhanced the sense of forest. I could see birds flying, butterflies hovering near the flowers, fragrance of different flowers, and people relaxing under the shade of tree. The gentle breeze of air made the leaves dance while the tree-like structure remained still. It seemed like the tree was trying to make the structure dance on the beats of the breeze. There was a paradigm shift from outside to inside. Going further inside, I found myself where the path went into two different directions. Apart from the chirping of birds, I could hear the sound of water falling. The sound of water was so mellow that it merged with the background, making me forget that I am in the middle of the city. Water was nowhere to be seen, but I could hear it. I pulled my father towards the sound of water and took the path going towards the left. It was surprising how sound of flowing water helped me choose which way to go. As I walked a little further, I noticed a water channel passing above the path and cascading it into a pool. The sound of falling water was emanating from the source. The pool was encircled by a small amphitheater and had a floating stage upon it. I observed a group of school children sitting there, intensely listening to their teacher's lecture. There was a water channel cutting across the amphitheater that carried the overflowing water. At the end of the channel, the water formed a spout from which it fell below. I questioned my father about the waterway stage, to which he cryptically replied, "Don't judge the book by its cover." Sometimes I wish he would give me a more direct answer. I decided to sit in the amphitheater while my father made a phone call. The steps were made of stone, while the water channel was of concrete. Watching the stream of water, the gentle sound of flowing water, chirping of birds, sunlight bouncing off the water and forming mesmerizing pattern on the canopy of the tree, and the structure engulfing the amphitheater made me feel like sitting in the middle of dense forest. Lost in my dreams, Papa called out my name. He was standing and asked me to come. He asked me to follow along as he was about to show me flowers that only grew deep inside the Narmada Basin. Your great-grandfather started boring me with the scientific name of plants and telling me from which part of Narmada Basin they were while I was busy in my own fantasy forest. As we went deeper into the conservatory, the plantation started getting thick. People reading books, other kids running around and playing. The shaded path with mild sound of flowing water, birds chirping made me forget I was in the middle of city. I noticed walking towards a big wall made of stones in the middle. The wall seemed odd. Soon I realized the pathway was going amidst the two high walls with a tree-like structure above. The path was going into dark. I could feel the roughness of the stone walls. I felt like touching the walls. The walls were little moist and cold. Suddenly it got very peaceful. No sounds of bird, no water, just a path with high stone walls on either side. I felt the silence. My father tapped my shoulder and asked me to look above, and I saw bats hanging on the structure and a lot of spiders' nest. I got scared and started moving fast ahead and saw a wide circular opening and flowers popping out from it. A ray of sunlight coming from it. It felt like a sigh of relief. Upon reaching the circular puncture in the wall, I saw a pond, probably a spout water, came here and collected. I could see a fisherman's net, which meant the water had fishes. I requested my father to take me down near the water to see the fishes. He agreed and took me down. The moment we got down, I was again left in awe. There was a tribal house in the middle of forest, rice plants in front of houses and fishing net kept next to it. My father told me that many tribes depend on Narmada for their food as they do not have even a market. They still rely on the barter system in which one family grows rice and exchanges it for fish from the other family. I was so fascinated to hear this as I had only read about such social procedures in the book. Papa took me further. The path was made of small pebbles that felt uncomfortable to walk. They made rustling noise. I could see different crops also grown, a lot of pulses. A gardener was plowing wheat crop. While my father was busy taking photos of flies, I took a moment of pause and saw crops, the tree-like structure while hearing the sound of water, making me realize the dependence of farmers on the river. I could see the water flowing out of the spout and forming a stream, running down the forest on pebble bed. Now I realized why my father told me not to judge the book by its cover. My father called me. He was standing near the circular opening. While walking towards it, I noticed an old building and a new structure cutting across it and forming a reverse arc. I created curiosity in my mind and asked my father what it was, and he told me that it's a secret project what he had been working on all these years. This left me excited. My eyes were all set on the arc. The moment I came out of high walls, I felt free. While my eyes were stuck on the prize, the arc, but I could not help notice a bridge on the pond connecting to the other side. I was surprised as the bridge was made of glass. I could see thick old pipes running from the below. Looking at the pipes, I could not fathom the volume of water going in them. It was a moment of self-reflection for me. Standing on the middle of the bridge while my father clicked my candid photos for the Instagram, I could see the complete conservatory at a glance. The stone walls seemed to be engulfing the tribal house, the farms. I could see the beautiful relationship between the built and the unbuilt, humans and nature, and how we all are connected through Narmada's water. I quickly reached the small ramp that connected the glass bridge to the water tank. It was a steep ramp. My father climbed slowly, but I ran up as I was excited to see the secret project what my father has been working on. The moment I climbed, I was amazed. The old water tank had a partition through which the staircase went deep down into the ground. The walls on the either side were made of glass and I could see the water inside it. The volume of water in the tank was astonishing. I went close to the glass and touched it. The feeling of cold glass felt like my hands were touching the water. My father came and smiled. He knew it was one of those fairy tale moments for me in which God used his power to create a path in between the water. He started going down the staircase and followed along. The feeling of going into the water was overwhelming. It was the first time I realized how much water we use humans. Felt selfish how we humans contain the water which is meant for everybody. As I reached down, I could not help but look back. I realized I have too much faith in the glass. A small crack could create a huge accident. The water felt overpowering. The human's might seemed too low. Papa called me out the moment he opened the door with his ID. I could see a long tunnel with doors. He then told me, "Do you remember looking at the tree-like structure? This tunnel connects all the trees and we store seeds below the trees into the storeroom. The corridor felt like I was in a Marvel movie, a top secret government place. I asked my father, why do you create underground stores for seeds? I have never heard anyone steal seeds. Papa laughed as he walked me out and said, I hope you never come to know why we store seeds so securely. After a few years, when I just got in 12th grade, there was a strong earthquake on 8.5 Richter scale and the epicenter was Bhopal. The city got completely destroyed. My school building collapsed. My father did not want to hinder my education, so we moved to New Delhi for my education. This was my last memory of Bhopal. Maybe one day I will get to take you there to the conservatory where your great-grandfather took me. Next morning, my grandchildren started requesting me to take them on a road trip to Bhopal. For once, I thought I should have not told them the story. Next week, I arranged a taxi and took them on a road trip to Bhopal to see the conservatory. When we reached the place, I could not recognize the place at all. There was a new Vidhaan Sabha made of steel and glass, and just opposite to it was a magnificent forest. After asking few people around for conservatory, they had no clue about it. Waiting in taxi, staring at the forest, trying to remember where the place was, I noticed ruins of the old building of the water treatment plant and suddenly realized this is where the conservatory was. I stepped out, started walking into the forest and soon discovered ruins of the water tank overtaken by nature. The forest was full of plants and trees, beautiful flowers, butterflies and ladybugs inside, and this hit me and felt like a deja vu. Soon I realized the meaning when my father said, I hope you never get to know it. There were pebbles still remaining on the ground through which small plants were growing. The conservatory must have collapsed during the earthquake. Their water tank must have cracked and activated the seeds stored in the chambers below. The tree-like structures were disintegrated and provided nutrition to the soil for fertile growth. I guess I got all the answers to my question.